My name is Camille Hart. I'm 29 years old, and something has happened to me that I still can't fully explain, not without sounding like I've lost my mind or maybe never had one to begin with. 2 weeks ago, while helping my aunt clean out the basement of her old farmhouse in upstate New York, I found a dusty box marked with my name. She swore she didn't label it, and when we opened it, it was full of cassette tapes, dozens of them all dated between 1985 and 1992. The problem is, I wasn't born until 1995. We dug out a working tape recorder and played the first one. I'll never forget the sound that came out. My voice unmistakably mine, same tone, same little stutter. I have when I say actually, but I was saying things I'd never said, talking about people I didn't know, describing rooms I'd never been in. One tape played what sounded like a therapy session. Another sounded like an argument between me and someone who kept calling me Lena, and one the one that made my aunt leave the room in tears was just me over and over whispering, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to remember. I haven't slept right since I started playing one tape each night." And each time the voice gets closer to what I'm thinking. Answering questions before I ask them, tonight the tape whispered something new. "Stop playing these, Camille, you're almost awake." I'm not dreaming, but I'm starting to think I've already lived this life before, or worse, someone else has using my voice. If you're watching this, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with anyone who believes our minds might not belong entirely to you. See, shouldn't have listened to another tape, but curiosity is a poison you drink with your own hand, and by the third night I had convinced myself I was uncovering some elaborate prank, or maybe evidence of a voice. Mimic anything to make it logical, but the fifth tape didn't sound like any of the others. It started with silence, faint clicks like a recorder left running too long, and then sobbing, raw and breathless, followed by my voice whispering, "It's too late, she's already here." Then came a crash, glass breaking, a scream so sharp I dropped the recorder. And the final sound was a whispered timestamp, July 20th, 11:43 p.m. That's 5 days from now, 5 days from the night I played the tape. I stared at the recorder like it might burst into flames, and for a moment I swore it felt warm, like it knew I was hearing my own death in advance, like it was waiting to see if I'd stop listening or keep inviting whatever's coming closer. I called my aunt, panicked, and she answered like she hadn't slept in days, her voice cracked and trembling. "I didn't want to tell you, but your mother used to make those tapes too, before she changed her name to escape them." I had never heard that story before, had never been told my mom even used a cassette recorder, and when I asked where she was now, my aunt went quiet, then said, "She died in 1992, Camille. You were born 3 years later." I stared at the tapes again. They were dated before I existed, but the voice was still mine, and the last tape in the box was labeled with a name I had never seen before in red marker, smeared like it was written in a hurry. Camille 20, the last tape, the one labeled Camille 20. Felt heavier than the others, not just in weight, but in presence, like whatever was inside it wasn't meant to be heard alone, and certainly not meant to be heard by me. I hesitated for a long time, staring at the red marker letters, smudged across the surface like they were written in blood by a shaking hand, but in the end I slid it into the recorder, pressed play, and listened, heart pounding. Nothing came through at first, just a faint static crackle like a dead signal trying to breathe, and then came my voice, calm, distant, speaking a sentence I had just thought in my head, not out loud, just thought. "If I play this, something will change forever." I froze, staring at the machine as my voice continued narrating my exact thoughts one by one, as I panicked as I tried to turn off the tape, but found my hands wouldn't move. "You're here now," it said, "and now you'll know what you were meant to forget." Then the voice shifted just slightly deeper, more controlled, like someone using my voice as a costume. "You're not Camille Hart, you're what was left when she refused to finish the loop." A sound like gears grinding echoed from the recorder, and my voice began describing places I hadn't seen yet. A motel off Route 9, room 104, a mirror covered in black tape, a spiral scratched into the floor, phone that would ring once but never again. I ripped the cassette out, but the tape kept turning, the sound still playing even without power, and I realized I wasn't playing the recording anymore. The recording was playing me, my thoughts, my words, my memories. They weren't mine at all. They were part of a loop, and the more I listened, the more I became the next version of someone who had already failed to escape. I didn't mean to go there, I swear I didn't. I tried to resist, packed the tapes in a bag, and drove aimlessly for hours, hoping distance would untangle whatever was happening to me. But by dusk, I found myself pulling off Route 9, like I was sleepwalking, engine dying beside a rusted neon sign that barely flickered out the word motel in buzzing red light. The gravel crunched beneath my feet as I walked to the front desk, and the man behind the counter didn't ask for ID. Didn't even look me in the eyes, just slid me a key and said room 104's been waiting. Ma'am. The hallway smelled like mold and thyme, and the air inside the room was too still, too perfect, like a place no one had ever left. The mirror above the dresser was covered in strips of black tape, but I peeled them back, needing to know. Needing to see if what the tape said was real, and when I looked into the glass, I wasn't there, no reflection. Just the room empty, but slightly off. The curtains swayed, though the window was closed, and in the mirror version of the room, the cassette player was already playing, and I was already sitting on the bed, whispering to someone I couldn't see. I turned away in a panic, heart crashing against my ribs, but the real room started changing too. The wallpaper began to peel in real time, revealing words carved beneath in tiny, perfect handwriting. Camille 20 is listening now. The phone in the room rang once, just like the voice had warned, and when I picked it up, there was only breathing, not mine, but a softer version of me, like a draft of my voice whispered into being by something trying to rewrite me from the inside out. And then it said, "The tape ends when you stop resisting." I dropped the phone, ran to the mirror, and saw my reflection flicker back into view, but it was smiling even though I wasn't. He should have left that motel room the second my reflection smiled back at me, but something in the air, maybe it was the sound just beneath the silence, or maybe it was that strange humming in the walls, kept me frozen. Like my body belonged more to the room than to me now. I looked back at the bed, and there it was, a second cassette recorder nearly identical to mine, but older, with a cracked speaker and worn buttons, and it was already playing the tape inside. Spinning slowly, though no one had touched it. I stepped closer, terrified, and as the voice crackled to life, my blood went cold, because this time it wasn't just my voice, it was me talking directly to someone who wasn't there yet. "Don't let her in, you'll want to, but she's wearing your voice now." I stood paralyzed as I listened to myself describe the exact moment. I was currently living, the cold air, the flickering light bulb, the mirror's grin still lingering. Word for word, like a script being read just before it's lived. Then the voice on the tape said something I hadn't yet said. "In 3 minutes, you'll hear her knock. Don't answer." And that was when I realized this wasn't a message from the past, it was a warning from the future. I stared at the door, every second stretching too long, my body bracing for something. I couldn't stop, and then, exactly as promised, 3 soft knocks, perfectly spaced like someone rehearsed them, over and over again. I didn't move, I didn't speak, and the recorder crackled again, one last time, whispering, "She knows you're listening now. That's how she gets in." I ran to the mirror again, and this time there were 2 of me reflected, one behind the other, and the one in the back wasn't blinking. I knew I couldn't stay in that room, not with a reflection that watched me like prey, and a door being knocked on by someone using my voice. So I grabbed the second recorder, the original tapes, and I ran, not even knowing where I was going, only that the world outside looked off. The sky was too still, the roads too quiet, and everything around me felt like a poorly rendered version of what it was pretending to be. I drove until the highway disappeared, until I found myself parked in front of a boarded-up gas station with no signs, no name, and inside, sitting alone on the counter, was a final cassette labeled in fresh ink, "Reset," written in my handwriting, but shaky and uneven, like I'd written it mid-panic. I didn't remember doing it, but my hands knew exactly how to load the tape, like they'd done it before, and the moment it started playing, time cracked. The static rose to a piercing shriek, then silence, and then my voice began again, but from multiple moments. 1 second I was describing a motel, the next I was a child playing with a recorder, then crying, then laughing, like versions of me from different timelines had all been captured, layered, and released in one moment. I staggered backward as the world flickered, the gas station disappeared, replaced with the basement of my aunt's house, then back to the motel, then to a hallway I've never walked before. Mirrors shattered and reverse screams echoed forward and backward, and then the voice, my voice, said, "Every time you try to escape, you choose the same story, but this time you pressed play. That means you're ready to forget again." I fell to my knees as the recorder sparked, melting from the inside. And a second voice, deeper and older, said, "Camille 30 is now live." I opened my eyes and I was back in my apartment, safe. Or so I thought, until I found a new tape on my nightstand labeled, "Do Not Listen." And the recorder was already playing. I should have destroyed that final tape, should have thrown it out the window and walked away, but I've come to understand something terrible. I was never supposed to leave the loop, only continue it, and when I pressed play on the cassette labeled, "Do Not Listen," it didn't just speak to me, it finished my thoughts before I could have them. The voice, still mine but drained of fear, now began narrating my exact actions as I stood in my apartment. She's holding the tape with both hands, her breath is shallow, she's wondering if she's dreaming, she's not. I dropped the recorder and backed away, but the sound kept playing louder, now syncing with the rhythm of my heartbeat. The tape said, "This is where you remember." Again, and I fell to my knees as visions burst behind my eyes. Versions of myself in different times, in different bodies, in different rooms. All pressing play, all hearing the same warnings, all reaching. The same ending one where we realized we were never real at all, just echoes, fragments of a voice that wanted to live, using bodies as recorders and memories as cassette tape. I saw the original Camille, the real one, hunched over in a padded room, whispering into an old mic, "Try again," as black ink poured from her mouth like melted tape. And then the voice in my apartment spoke one final sentence. "This body is done recording." The recorder clicked off and everything in the room stopped, the fan, the lights, even the air felt frozen. And when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't there, just the empty room waiting for its next narrator. I now know the truth. I was never Camille, I was just your 7th recording, and the recorder is ready for the next voice. Thank you so much for watching this full story if you made it this far. I'd love to know, what part of Camille's journey creeped you out the most? Was it the mirror that didn't reflect her? The voice that spoke? Her thoughts before she had them? Or the terrifying realization that she was never the original? Let me know in the comments. I read every word. If this story made your skin crawl, subscribe for more haunting original horror tales. Like this video to support the channel, share it with a friend who still dreams about old technology, and tell me, would you press play on a tape with your name on it? This story was written and edited by Dark Lifeside Diaries. Stay awake, stay aware, and don't trust your own voice if it starts talking back.